Welcome to another episode here at the Nothing for Granted podcast. I hope that you are having an incredible week. Thank you so much for being here with me on this Friday as we discuss how long does it take to gain traction as a freelance funding expert. So this episode is for you if you heard Wednesday's episode and you already know 2022 is your year. You are deep diving into becoming a funding expert, whether you are a nonprofit founder, a small business owner, whether you're already a grants professional and just kind of want to expand your skill set. Totally fine. Let's go ahead and do it by jumping right into freelance funding. But now that you've made that decision, how long does it really take? Is it 6 months? Is it a year? Is it 2 years? How long does it take to gain traction? And notice how I'm not talking about consistent income necessarily, but just gaining a momentum to where you can actually feel the progress going. All right, let's go ahead and jump into today's episode. Welcome to Nothing for Granted, a space for aspiring grant writers who are tired of feeling undervalued, underpaid, and overworked by your understaffed nonprofit. Hi, my name is Eliana, grant writer, grants consultant, and freelance coach for Christian entrepreneurs. I live for long-distance cycling rides, iced chai lattes, and outdoor adventures with my 4 little beasts. I teach you grant writing strategies and freelance tactics that set you apart when launching and scaling your Holy Spirit-led business. I too was paralyzed by those questions. So paralyzed, in fact, that I launched my business twice, thinking maybe I should take another training because, underqualification. Well, 5 certifications on my wall later. But what if I told you that with a little basic knowledge and next to no experience, you too could launch a successful and sustainable freelance grant consulting business while pursuing that degree, raising littles, and maybe getting a tan on the beach? Permission granted to stop feeling guilty over leaving behind that organization that has you stagnant and to confidently and boldly step into the most elevated version of who you were created to be. You're here for encouragement, accountability, and a slight tough love kick in the butt. No goals, just standards. Lace up your combat boots, tighten up that ponytail. Girl, it's time to get to work. All right, Visionary, thank you so much once again for being here with me. If you guys have not already joined the Funding and Freelance community group, what are you doing? Why not? Go ahead and join me at bit.ly/funding and freelance. This is our community group. Okay, this is where we show up for each other, where we can post the work that we are completing, where we can post our questions without feeling guilty. I send out resources every single week to my email list. That way you are being kept motivated. You have the things that you need, especially as I continue to grow. I want to make sure that I'm taking you along with me for the ride. And that way, avoiding you so many of my same mistakes so that you can make ones of your own. Again, that is bit.ly/funding and freelance. Let's go ahead and jump right in. So how long does it take to gain traction? How long does it take to gain momentum? And what are the elements that affect whether or not you're gaining this momentum? I know that when you start any new venture, it can be very frustrating because you're like, man, I feel like I'm putting in so many hours into this and I'm just not getting the response that I would love. Whether you are using a metric like social media for that, if you're using your income as a metric for that, if you are just using feedback that you are receiving from your community for that, doesn't matter. Whatever metric you are using, it can be really frustrating when you're just not seeing that analytic grow. So I want to talk to you about a couple of caveats that really affect whether or not you're on the right track, okay? Number one, and I holistically, with all of my heart, believe this, it is your strategy. What is your strategy for growth? What is your strategy for attracting clients? Okay, do you have a strategy in place, or did you just say, you know what, I'm going to do this thing and that's going to be all? You have to know exactly what do you want to get out of this in order to reverse engineer that result, okay?
So in my case, I knew really early on I didn't want to work from gig sites. I feel like gig sites have this just this lower expectation of pricing and quality. And I really wanted to push myself to kind of just do this. I hate to say it like this, but kind of do it the hard way. I wanted to push myself to see just how far could I take it on my own without having to use, the Fivers, the Upwork, anything like that. Now, congratulations, I did it when I relaunched my business this past year. It has been amazing. All of my clients, and I really mean this, all of my clients have come from Instagram, with the exception of one client, which came from another strategy that I had implemented really early on. And so that's saying something, right? It's saying that my strategy has been marketing my personal brand. Personal branding has been my strategy, and things that I have used to support that are, for example, my podcast. I use my podcast as an opportunity to provide as much free, long-form content to you and value to you as possible so that you get to know me, you get to learn my learning style, you really get to get so much free education without ever having to spend a penny with me. And so that has been my strategy. Your strategy may be a little different. If what you are looking for is, I need to leave my job right now, I need consistent income right now, then, and I don't care if that comes in smaller increments, then gig sites may be the strategy that you want to implement. And that's totally fine. Then you need to figure out, okay, what are elements that I need to infuse into my profile in order to gain clientele, right? So kind of taking a step back, or digressing, your strategy really is one of the things that is going to affect how much momentum you gain. I also just want to take a moment here to remind you that we're not on anybody's timeline but God's. We don't get to choose, hey, God, I want to be a 6-figure business owner within a year or two. Unfortunately, we don't get to do that. And I say unfortunately, but really what I mean is fortunately. Like, fortunately, we don't get to choose our own timelines because we think we know what we want for ourselves and God knows better, right? So I want you to just in every moment, and this is something that I do for myself, guys, I will not ever tell you to do something that I have not done for myself. So for me, there are times that I get desperate and I say, God, man, it's taking me forever. It's taking me forever to get to where I know I deserve to be. But the truth is that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing and surrounded by the people that are going to help me get to where God is going to place me. Does that make sense, guys? So just keep that in mind every time that you start to get angsty about your growth. Number 2 is how much time do you actually dedicate to your side business? Okay, to your freelance hustle. How much time you dedicate, of course, is going to determine how fast you grow. It's just like podcasting. If I only podcast once a month, well, of course, my growth is going to be a lot slower than podcasting once a week or twice a week, right? It's why we're almost at 10K. Guys, we are so close to hitting 10K. I would absolutely love it if you would share this podcast with a friend so that we can hit that first major metric. I am just blown away by what God is doing through this podcast. So yeah, definitely be sure to share it with a friend who is just interested in kingdom entrepreneurship and learning funding and all the things, okay? So number 2 is how much time. And then number 3, I would say, really is just how well do you know your market? Honestly, how well do you know your market? How well do you know your target audience? How well do you know who it is you specifically want to work with? Or do you just want to work with everybody? Guys, that's unrealistic. You cannot work with and for everybody. You have to know who your target audience is the more clear you are on who your target audience is, the better it will be for you, because you will be able to speak directly to their pain points. You will be able to speak directly to the things that trigger them, to the solution they're seeking. You'll be able to speak their language. It's why so many of you send me DMs saying, oh my God, you're in my head. Yes, because I know you. I've taken the time to get to know you. And so the more clear you are on who it is you're serving, the easier it will be for you to attract those clients and, again, gain that momentum that we all want. And number 4, and with this one I will close, it is, how much are you investing in yourself? And now you're saying, whoa, calm all the way down. You want me to invest in myself when I'm building a business to make money? I don't have money. Okay. I will tell you that the biggest growth that I have experienced in my business has been after making big investments in myself. It wasn't until I invested in becoming a podcaster that I really started to reach the nations. Literally, guys, we have been number 14, and even I think the highest we've gotten is number 4 in Uganda. Hi, Uganda. Hi, guys. I hear you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I don't know anybody in Uganda, but God has given us these platforms to reach the nation. And if we can learn how to leverage them and optimize their use, we can be so impactful. And so invest in yourself. I know it's hard. I know it hurts. I know it's difficult and it's a sacrifice. But without sacrifice, don't expect there to be victory. That's just, you're lying to yourself. And so I want you to really consider, what investments do I have to make in myself in order to see the major growth that I deserve? And I promise you that will pay dividends. So to answer the question, how long does it take to gain traction as a freelance funding expert? If you take these 4 tips, if you take these 4 tactics that I have just shared with you, your strategy, how much time are you going to dedicate to your business, your target audience, your investment of self? If you implement those 4 tactics within 6 months or less, you should start creating some sort of, it's not going to be enough for you to leave your full-time job necessarily. It really just depends, of course, on so many other things like your network and how much time you're spending outside of just the digital world, but how much connections are you making and all those things. But you will create enough traction to, at minimum, start having $1,000, $2,000 worth a month in work. And maybe that doesn't sound like very much, but when you think about, there are jobs out there paying $500 a week, you can break it down that way. You can be making $500 a week with less than 6 months if you implement these strategies. And like I said, this is just solely online. This is solely remote. But if you start talking about, we're going out there, we're making moves, we are talking to people, all of those things, of course, are going to are going to impact how much momentum you gain within your first year. And so, Visionary, I would love to hear your experience. If you would send me your personal freelance story at hello@Buffalo Mission Co. or post it in the Facebook group page. I would absolutely love to hear your stories of growth. I hope this has blessed you. Again, share it with a friend so that we can continue on our road to smash 10K. Thank you so much for being here. Many blessings on you, and I will see you on Wednesday.